Greetings, this is Chris Mendoza, and here's my Module 8 Game Jam Final Project Part 2 screencast. For Team 1's Game 380 Game Jam submission, we developed a pirate-themed on-rails first-person shooter named Go for Broke. The Game Jam's theme was fragile, and in keeping with the theme, in 6 weeks we created a game with tons of breakable objects and an emphasis on destruction. I took on a few roles in this team, and the first one was UI design. I created all the graphics. I also put together the widgets for the title screen, setting screen, about screen, loading screen, pause screen, and end screen. I also developed a HUD, which ended up not being used other than the reticle. Instead, we moved the HUD elements to diegetic UI elements such as the scoreboards and digital marquees. Another UI element I worked on is the floating text that pops up when you shoot targets. When you start a level, 50 randomized target floaters are generated, and those are combined with the target values to display on the screen. My secondary role was level designer. I created the floor plan for the pirate ship. I grayboxed it, which ended up being the final ship. I placed all the lighting elements and set up all the level streaming to keep too many targets from being loaded into the game at the same time. And lastly, I laid out the tracks, the targets in each area, and the hazards. Later in the project, I took on the role of a programmer, where I created debug tools such as cheats, as well as more critical debugging for checkpoints and so on. In addition, I created all the visual effects, such as the exploding barrels, the coins that come flying out of the treasure chests, the firing cannons, and the cloth physics for the ship's sails. Though the entire team took part in designing the game and its mechanics, as systems designer, I created the game design document, flowcharts for the level progression, spreadsheets for difficulties, target values, and floating text, and the associated data tables for implementing in the game. In terms of gameplay additions or improvements, I would like to work on a pirate ship model to replace the grayboxed version. I would also like to work on the aiming range and motion, because currently where you aim the reticle is not always where the cannonball will fly. Relative to that, I would also like to implement a firing lock so that players can't fire while they're at a checkpoint, for example, or when they've already won the game. Currently, when one target is on top of another target that gets destroyed, it doesn't fall, it just floats there. I'd like to fix that, likely with a line trace going directly beneath, and if there's nothing there, then the physics will be simulated. As you can see, I'm starting an arcade-style score-chasing Commodore mode. Treasures instead take away your score, while destruction is encouraged. In that mode, I'd like to replace treasure chests with something like rum barrels or poison barrels. And because it is a score-chasing mode, I would like to add saving, loading, and leaderboards. The team had some other ideas late in development, such as power-ups, multipliers, and I personally wanted to put in a feature called Typhoid Time, where all targets would turn into treasure chests. And lastly, I'd like to add more visual effects, such as water bursting from barrels, splinters bursting from any wooden objects, and something to indicate when you're submerged. We did have one critical bug late in development, where the player would be launched very early on one of the paths, and there was one visual bug where the score would not be updated properly. Other than that, there are some minor bugs, such as settings not updated properly, but nothing game-breaking. In accordance with the Game Jam rules, the entire game is textured. There are no world grid materials present. There is a title screen, which was my personal favorite to create, a pause menu, there is a win-lose scenario according to the player score, and no asset packs or starter content was used, no plugins or marketplace items were used. We did use royalty-free sounds and music, and those are cited in the About screen. But everything else was created by the team, which is made up of Mikayla, Logan, myself, and Brian. I hope you enjoyed this overview of Go for Broke. I'll be adding a playable release to my itch.io soon, so please look forward to that, and thank you for watching.